morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is said that nations get the government they deserve. I think that is generally very true, particularly in the long term. After 45 years of independence, the people of Zimbabwe, we've got to look ourselves in the mirror and admit to ourselves that this government we have, this ZANU-PF, corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical regime, complete with its equally corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless MDC-CCC opposition, is the government we deserve. Because whether we like it or not, whether we care to admit it or not, the truth of the matter remains that in 1980, when the country gained its independence, we were the masters of our own destiny. Here is Oprah Winfrey trying to explain the importance of being a master of one's own destiny.
I am responsible. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am responsible for the choices that I make in my life. I am responsible. I am responsible. I am the master of my fate.
Well, what she was trying to emphasize there is that we, whether we care to admit it or not, we are the master of our own fate. Here is somebody trying to define these various forms of government that we have. And most significantly,
you know the different types of government? Here's a list of 20 from best to worst. Let's go. Democracy, rule by the people. Isocracy, equal power for all citizens. Meritocracy, rule by the most capable or talented. Technocracy, rule by technical experts. Nemocracy, rule by law, not by people. Epistocracy, rule by the knowledgeable or wise. Bureaucracy, rule by offices and officials. Plutocracy, rule by the wealthy. Aristocracy, rule by the privileged elite. Timocracy, rule by those with property or honor. Geocracy, rule by the elderly. Stratocracy, rule by the military. Kakistocracy, rule by the least qualified. Autocracy, rule by one person with total power. Theocracy, rule by religious leaders or divine law. Oligarchy, rule by few, not necessarily wise or fair. Mobocracy, rule by the mob or masses in chaos. Anocracy, rule that's unstable or mixes democracy and autocracy. Cryptocracy, rule by secret or hidden powers. Kleptocracy, rule by thieves or corrupt officials. What kind of government do you think is?
Well, I think that is an interesting question to ask. What kind of government do we want as a nation? After 45 years of independence, of blundering from pillar to post, Zimbabwe is a failed state. I think it is absurd that many Zimbabweans out there have not taken the time to ask themselves, what kind of government do we want? We can't always be a victim and just consider ourselves to be helpless. We are masters of our own destiny. It's not only the few ruling elite in ZANU-PF who should determine the nation's destiny. We all have a right to a say in defining that destiny. The question we've got to ask ourselves is, why have we not stopped and said, what kind of government do we have? What kind of government we want? And I think that is a fundamental question. In this particular case, if you were to ask me, what kind of government do we have? I think I would say, given the confusion and chaos in Zimbabwe today, we have a mix of the worst in every one of those systems of government, starting with democracy itself. Some people continue to believe that we are a democracy because we have held regular elections. And yet, if the truth be told, Zimbabwe has never held free, fair, and credible elections. 45 years, and we still cannot hold free, fair, and credible elections. Interestingly enough, the nation has risked the livelihoods, limbs, and even human lives to elect the MDC-CCC leaders for the express purpose that they would implement the democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. And right up to the GNU of 2008 to 2013, MDC-CCC leaders were committed to that. During the GNU, that was the golden opportunity to implement those reforms. Credit where credit is due. SADC, and more specifically South Africa, pressured ZANU-PF to go into the GNU by refusing to accept ZANU-PF's claim that they'd won the elections. They pressured ZANU-PF to go into the GNU. The primary purpose of the GNU was to implement the necessary democratic reforms to stop the repeat of the blatant cheating in the counting of votes that had taken place on the earlier vote of the March 2008, and the wanton violence orchestrated by Mnangagwa, Chiwenga, and others that followed the runoff. That was the primary purpose of the GNU, and yet not even one token reform was implemented. And then we moved into this situation post-GNU where the opposition convinced the nation, mostly their followers, that they can still win flawed elections. Every time they've come up with strategies of winning rigged elections, And the people themselves were made the mistake of believing those idiotic lies again and again and again. So Zimbabwe would like to believe we're a democracy when we have never had even something as basic as free, fair, and credible elections. Why we claim to be a democracy beggars belief. It has just become a way of hiding the rigged elections, and we pretend that the elections were free, fair, and credible. We are also a government of thieves. Corruption in Zimbabwe has gone into overdrive. And what makes it so difficult for Zimbabwe is that the corrupt are those who are in power. Yesterday, there was an article where somebody showed that only 1% of Zimbabwe's mineral mining is actually paid as tax. The other 99 is looted. And somebody was asking, how is that possible? Well, it is possible because in 2012, the late Edward Shindori Chininga, he was the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Mines, and he used his parliamentary power to visit Chiadzwa and Marange diamonds. And what he found out and submitted in his parliamentary report gave the true picture of why looting has become rampant in Zimbabwe. He found out that those who held the mining concessions did not have any legal obligation to declare the quantity and quality of the diamonds that they mined. They didn't have any legal obligation to declare how much they sold those diamonds and to who. They didn't have any legal obligation to declare who were the beneficiaries of the mining activity. When those diamonds are sold, who gets what? The money. They had no obligation to declare that. In short, those mining concessions were a license to loot. The beneficiaries don't have to declare anything, they don't pay any tax, be it individual tax or corporate tax, nothing. And this is not a question of the law has been broken. These are the people who made the law. They are the ones who are issuing these mining concessions. They are the ones who are issuing this license to loot. So in Zimbabwe, we have a government of mafias. So we have got the worst of each type of government you can ever think of. We have got a government of some of the most corrupt and incompetent individuals you can imagine too. How is it possible that a nation with so much wealth has been reduced to become one of Africa's failed states? The answer we've got some of the most incompetent individuals in government. Some of the policies they've pursued, you scratch your head and say, are these people insane? That is what we have. So in Zimbabwe, we've got all the worst types of government you can ever think of. And our biggest problem here remains one where we, the people, have not taken the responsibility of being the masters of our own destiny. And I would like to remind you once again of what Oprah Winfrey was saying in being the master of your own destiny.
I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am responsible for the choices that I make in my life. I am responsible. I am responsible. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am responsible for the choices that I make in my life. I am responsible. I am responsible. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Thank you very much, those who were able to join us tonight, and I hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow. But as a parting remark, we, whether we care to admit it or not, we are the master of our own fate. We are responsible for Zimbabwe having becoming a failed state, a pariah state. And we can change it. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good night.